Okay, episode 18. So for assessing individuals and like looking at individual on their own and looking at their abilities and their stats, it makes sense to me. But for lunging and single leg exercises, do you think it makes sense to have an event? Let's just say the event at a regionals was a 50-foot max front rack overhead lunge or front rack walking lunge. Do you think that makes sense to do as a test of strength? Why or why not? Because generally single leg stuff or lunging is done for capacity in competitions. It's not done as a potential. So do you think it makes sense for it to be done as a potential?
Like 50 foot for
a walking lunge.
Walking lunge.
Or even just 10 steps, 5 per leg for maximum load.
What would be the score? Like the weight used? It's a good question. I think the carryover to other exercises is, especially in overhead walking lunges, is quite good because it gives you more information, let's say, about the overhead position in weightlifting, mostly, either snatch or whatever overhead, clean and jerk, push press. It gives you information about their core stability, either static stability, then a little bit of dynamic stability, because you are moving, you are not just standing.
But you still, dynamic stability, in the sense that your hips and legs are moving, right? You're trying to create tension and no movement generally through the spine.
And then, just not pure single leg strength, but somehow single leg strength, I would say.
Do you think single leg strength correlates very well to squatting strength?
Yeah, maybe. I don't have enough experience to say.
Yeah.
Say like my true opinion. I would say.
I don't think it correlates that well.
Yeah, I would
just
say,
based on in a lunge, right? For example, like the hip is generally not going below the knee, right? You have a very vertical torso. There's not a lot of lower back, erector strength involvement. So it creates a lot of differences there. And like prime example being hockey players, right? Like I said, they're based on their sport, and I think it's based on their sport because I don't see this in other people. Just based on the single leg work that they have to do with skating and striding and just being in that position and going one leg at a time, and they're ridiculously strong in that pretty modestly flexed knee position. So like a lunge encapsulates that kind of limit range of motion they would ever achieve. They never go to here, right? They never create full flexion in the knee unless they're sliding into the boards. So I don't think it's a really good predictor of squatting strength. Because for myself included, right, my single leg strength is quite good for lunging, whereas my squatting strength is piss poor. But back to the question, do you think it makes sense to test it as a test of strength?
No.
Okay. But if you had to test it as a test of strength, which movement would you pick to test? Would you test
as a single legs?
Yeah.
Single leg strength?
Would you test a pistol? Would you test various forms of lunging?
Like pistol with weight?
If it's for strength, it's going to be for weight.
Yeah. I think it depends on the person.
If it's a competition.
If it's a competition. I would say I would pick up some lunging movement as opposed to just pistol. Because if you want to test a large amount of competitors and you want to create those response same as much as possible in a large amount of competitors, a lot of people could be limited by, let's say, mobility in pistols. So actually, it wouldn't be a strength test. It would be mobility strength.
What about the overhead walking lunge then?
Yeah.
Would that be a mobility limitation for people,
Yeah.
or is it like the pistol, kind of maybe requires a little too much localized mobility from individuals, and maybe cuts certain people out? I would say the pistol cuts more people out of competing than an overhead walking lunge does. Yeah, and I would say it's generally agreed upon that you should be able to put your arms over your head. But I don't know that it's generally agreed upon by everybody that you should be able to go down on one leg and squat and get the other leg off the ground.
Like creating some really great tests for competition to test single leg strength. I think it's complicated. It's not easy. It's not easy to create really great standard. Firstly for judging, and then safe standard for athletes, and also just for the test to have some purpose.
So
not just testing some movement, but
think of some
what
tests
it gives
then.
you.
Think of some tests then where you think single leg strength would have a good carryover to. Think of some events that it would have a good carryover to, like work capacity style events. Do you think like
front rack lunges?
Yeah, but not single leg movements. Well, so single leg strength I think would obviously carry over to doing well on lunging movements. But would you say that people that are quite good at, or very good at very heavy lunging will be very good at pushing a heavy sled?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Do you think that's true?
Yeah.
I think it is. What about sprinting on a bike?
Yeah, definitely yes.
I think it would. I don't know how well it correlates to it, right? But
there's much better correlation.
Again, but I just go back to the hockey players I have, right? Like those kids that have really good single leg strength, they may not even be that good at squatting. They can run their ass off with a modest load on a sled. They can drive so hard with those legs, one at a time. But then I know the opposite for individuals in fitness that can squat quite a bit, or can squat much more than them, or the same amount, and they would get murdered going against them at the same weight for the same female. I know two of them right now. You know that.